Hey, Ed Schultz, give me 5 minutes. Used to do it just a minute. Now I want to do 5 today. Is that okay? President came out with Mitch McConnell today after having lunch and making the peace and breaking bread. And oh, by the way, they're best buddies. I don't know if they've played golf yet or not, but they're best buddies according to the president. But he came out and gave a press conference today, and I think one of the most intriguing things he said was about health care and how the president wants to reel in the drug companies and started comparing the drug prices for American consumers to what citizens of other countries pay. I tell you what, if Trump is serious about this, he is going to get major Democratic support on this issue. This is almost a framework for a new health care bill. Seriously. How else are you going to bring down costs? What is the number one thing that people have got to put up with constantly, whether your doctor likes you or not, whether you go to the emergency room or not, whether you see a pediatrician or if you see a family practice or if you got surgery? All of those expenses are up there. But what can be controlled? What can be controlled is prescription drugs. And the drug companies in this country who are big donors and big lobbyists on Wall Street, on K Street here in Washington, they got tremendous influence. And now the president of the United States is going to take on the drug companies? I mean, for a Republican president to talk like this, I'm surprised that Mitch McConnell didn't throw up when he heard that, or at least interrupt the president. Well, that's not exactly what we're talking about. No, let me tell you something. This can be a framework. In fact, I want you to listen to the soundbite if you can find it on the news, because most of the mainstream media didn't pick up on it and they're not playing it. This is Bernie Sanders talk. There have been numerous occasions when elected officials have gathered on the Democratic side and gone north of the border up into Manitoba and Ontario with senior citizens to illustrate the discrepancy and the difference in the pricing for folks in Canada as opposed to the United States, the exact same pill. And so I know Trump talks a lot of shit, but where did he come up with that? I mean, I just find that that could be a framework. That'll bring Democrats into his corner to talk about health care. Now, as far as the subsidies are concerned that he cut, that's a big problem. That's going to hurt a lot of people. But I also think that, too, is going to force the Democrats to say, OK, we got to help these people. And hopefully it will motivate Schumer and Pelosi to do something about it. Tax cuts, I think today at that press conference, Mitch McConnell was told by the president, we're good buddies now. But guess what? You're on notice. You got to get this thing done. And if you don't get this thing done, it's not because of me. That's what the president basically was saying. He loves Mitch McConnell. He just thinks his leadership is great. And they're good friends. Yeah? Well, the time frame is by the end of the year, they want these tax cuts. And if they can get 20% on corporate tax, it'll be a huge victory for the Trump administration and for the Republicans. And I watched the Democrats filibuster all of that and not agree to it. We'll see.
What'd you make, Ed, today of the president? He was kind of called out about some previous tweets about President Obama regarding, the obstruction and not getting anything done when Obama was in office, when he had the House and the Senate, and now he's complaining the
that for him to even, they were talking about the recent deaths of the American soldiers overseas, and the president got off on this tangent about how he's going to communicate with the families. He hasn't written to them yet, he's written to them, but they haven't sent out the letters yet. And he's going to call the families, and the other presidents have not called families who have lost soldiers overseas in the fight against terrorism. That is probably a greater illustration of being undisciplined than any tweet. Why would the president wade into that? He doesn't know that for sure. He's just picking it right out of the air and throwing it out there. And the mainstream media network reporters did call him on it. And now it's the biggest story out there. Which, you want to talk about getting yourself disfocused and getting people talking about something that you don't want them to talk about. I mean, that's just major open your mouth, take foot, and shove it in there.
Just pontification here, but Do you think he prepares for these things at all before he goes?
No, he's winging it. He's totally winging it today. He came out and felt pretty good and started talking some smack, and then one thing led to another, and it felt pretty good. You could tell that he was feeling good about his answers, and he had kind of command, and they wanted him, and he liked it, and he waded into a territory that is just totally false. Of course, past presidents have called families where they've lost men and women overseas in combat. Of course it's happened. But to accuse Barack Obama of not doing it, where the hell did that come from? That's just utterly amazing.
All right, I got one more thing before we go today. You know, you talked about the time frame for getting tax reform done. Mitch McConnell and Trump were buddy-buddy. Is Mitch McConnell in danger of losing his job as majority leader if he can't accomplish Trump's agenda?
I don't think there's any doubt that the president will throw him under the bus if they don't get tax reform done in the near future, not the distant future. I mean, I don't think that he's going to give McConnell until next June to figure it out before the midterms. I mean, I think they want this thing buttoned up before 2018. And if they can't get it, they got to be damn close, and they got to work at it and get it done in a timely fashion so the Republicans can go out there and run on it. That's what they want to run on. What's amazing about this is that there is no actuary out there about what this tax plan will absolutely do. The Republicans are always talking about the debt deficit and destroying the future generations and putting it on the back of our kids and everything else. None of that talk. What do you think this tax cut's going to do? I mean, it is not going to replenish the Treasury, but it goes back to the old Republican philosophy that they're trying to get rid of the New Deal. If they could starve the Treasury, they can make the case to privatize everything and reduce the benefits of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That's what this big mission is about for the Republicans. Trump wants to have tax cuts because he wants to continue to create jobs, and he also wants to do good by big business and by Wall Street. But the fact of the matter is that the Republicans basically want to get tax cuts so they can starve the Treasury, so it'll lead them down the road of cutting out entitlement programs and make the case there that it's the fault of the entitlement programs. This is all Bush economics back 2001, 2003, and what happened in 2004. Bush got reelected. That's where they're at.
Absolutely. And you think, I guess one last thing about McConnell, do you think he gave a little bit of inside Washington today saying is it his job as the majority leader in the Senate was to keep Republicans elected, keep their position, keep their majority?
That was such a terrible answer. I mean, it just goes to show, it goes back to his comment about his number one goal was to make Barack Obama a one-term president. Remember that?
Yeah.
And to defeat his agenda. I don't believe the American people view it that way. I believe the American people want elected officials to go to Washington and get the best possible deal they can and compromise and do something for the good of the people and move forward. Get government working at some level, not to obstruct, not to worry about the political undertaking of destroying people and making sure your party stays in control. I don't think that plays with the vast majority of independent voters. I don't think that plays well.
All right, that's what I got for you today.
Have a good one. We'll see you on the news.